have studied Chinese literature, right? The old books, the old poems, and a lot of Chinese students have learned a lot of words in Chinese, but do you understand them? Do you understand why that word is like that? Like, how come pretty is a sheep on top of big? You know, I'm probably missing a line somewhere there, right? It's a sheep, right, on top of big. Why? Is it because if a sheep is really big and fluffy, then it's soft, so that's kind of like pretty, maybe? You should find out. Because there probably is a relationship. When people put these pieces together, they had a reason for it, right? Now, some of them have changed over time. Sometimes you lose a part of the character, but if you can go back to what it was, then it makes a lot more sense. Same thing with how English works, where if you can make a relationship, even if it's just 2 words, more is better, but if you can just have 2 words that you can tie together, then if you remember part of one, you can try to remember the other one. So a large part of learning English vocabulary words for any language that spells the words. A big part of this is when you try to look up the words, ask the questions, ask where it comes from, what its relationship is to other words that you know. How big is that relationship? How much more is there? And then you'll find it's easier to keep them. So learning words is always a challenge. Between English and Chinese, yeah, they're very different, but there are patterns that go through all languages, because whenever any language makes a word, it's not arbitrary. We don't just point at something and say, flag. You know, we don't just make a sound when we point at something. There's a reason why it has that name. Now, if we go back to the very, very beginning of the very first language, then maybe at that point, you know, they started running out of ideas and they just said, I don't know what to call it, so it's a I don't know. And then that becomes a word. It actually happens in a lot of languages. But by the time we have our languages today, every word comes from somewhere. So I'll find out. There's something else about how English and Chinese make their words differently. You remember how Chinese makes new words? Like, yeah. So what's this? Yeah, but in Chinese, right? It's a machine that you can put in your hand, yeah? So if you take Chinese words and try to follow that pattern, what you'll see is that for new ideas, they use old Chinese words. This is a new idea, computer, but dian, it's an old idea. I mean, it goes back to the first storm in the sky when there's lightning coming down, right? That's where we get dian. And now, right? That's an old idea too. Everybody knows that in your head, there's the part that makes you think. So, if we put them together, we get a computer. But that is how Chinese works. You need to understand it so you can understand how other languages are different. So, what do you guys think? Where does this come from? maybe that one's too hard. What if we try this one here? Where's this idea from? Where do we get those words? Cell phone. First, is it one word? We have the word phone in there. So we have two different parts. Yeah. So, guesses? Where else do you see the word phone? Telephone, yeah. We have telephone. Okay. What does telephone mean? Is this, see, that's part of the question. Is this related to this word? What is this part of the machine called? Not the computer, this here.
Television.
Yeah. Right, TV. So, any guesses? When the word started, when we first had this idea, what was special? What was different about this new technology? Why did they need a new word for this new technology? What was different about it? Well, 200 years ago, if I want to see you, I need to stand here and look at you. If I'm in Taipei, I can't see you, right? 200 years ago, if I want to talk to you, not give you information, that I can write and send, no problem. If I want you to hear my voice, and I'm in Taipei and you're here, So what's different about this technology?
Oh, you don't need to see the person, and you can hear their sound.
From very close?
From the far.
Yeah. That's all it means. This tele part just means that you can be far away. So when we first started using this idea, the technology allowed us to talk to people, to send our voice far away. If you ever watch those magic shows where they, somebody concentrates and then you see your pen start to move, right? We call that telekinesis. All right, so this is a word for movement. Okay, and there's a couple others where we do something similar. All right, but this T-E-L-E, we only use it in these words where it means something is far away. Okay, so telephone, television. So vision, right? Where else do you see the word phone? Where else maybe you know that word from? For For example, what is the 注音符号? What is the 注音符号? Yeah, what do we call it? It's a kind of alphabet, right? But what kind? Does it tell you how to spell words?
It tells you how to pronounce.
It tells you the sounds, right? So it's a phonetic alphabet. Phonetic means it has to do with the sounds. So phone is for the sound. When we use this word phone, like what about when you're listening to music? You wear earphones, right? It has to do with the sound. So now we have a clear idea of what this means. This relates to sound. Okay?
Small.
Could be. Cells are small. When we start talking about a cell, do you all know what a cell is? We have different meanings for this word. So, what is a cell?
The things that become that your body that
Yeah.
affect your body.
If it's an animal cell, it looks kind of like this, right? Kind of like an egg.
You see
Right.
micro.
If you look through a microscope, then it looks like this. If it's a plant, like a tree, then it looks more like this, right? Because a tree has very hard edges. What else can a cell be? You ever watch a movie or a TV show about people going to jail? We have the idea of a cellmate. It's like a roommate in jail, right? A cell can be a room, one room in a prison, in jail, okay? So the common idea here is that a cell is a single thing. It has its own little walls, it's separate from the things around it. Maybe it works together with the things around it, but each one is separate, okay? So, if we have, say, an adjective, we take this and we make an adjective. Okay, cellular. Now what we're talking about is, well, how about a phone that is separate from all the things around it?